because this last segment is called future developments. And just to give you a quick outline here already, is first we're going to talk about a little bit about the shortcomings, the obvious ones, the data availability issues, and how we're supporting addressing these, and also looking into a setup, for example, if you're not quite there yet, if, for example, your water distribution network is not separated into different district metered areas at this moment yet, what can we do then? All right, as promised, looking into the first point, here we're actually, I'm talking about what we saw in Torquay's case was AMI, so that was meters being read basically every hour. And yes, we're aware that this is not quite the standard around the world, and that's perfectly okay. However, we still believe that even in such situations, we can provide added value by helping you understand the water loss situation that you have at hand. And the idea here really is that we can provide you this insight even if you have less frequent data. One example that you can see here on the left-hand side is what we at Diehl Metering call passive drive-by. In this case, you equip, for example, a garbage truck with an antenna. It runs its regular routes, picks up the garbage, and while doing so, just keeps reading meters. And therefore will pick up, on average, a reading per meter every other week, so every 2 weeks. And the idea here is that we are still able to understand what the consumption pattern looks like. So we're not talking about just saying, okay, it's been, I don't know, last year it's been 100 cubic meter, this year it's 100 cubic meter, but rather understanding also the trends and seasonality patterns behind that. And therefore then kind of estimate what the consumption per day should look like based on the data that is available, for example, every other week. Below that, we can see that this is a graph from a currently ongoing project, not in Bronnersloh, but in another European city, where we can see data availability rather high at the beginning, where the drive-by was happening very frequently, and then it dropped down to just roughly 15%. However, what we can see at the same time is that what we call enhanced or estimated consumption remains rather stable. Yes, there are still some, seasonality patterns. As I said, we still consider those, but despite having rather low data availability, we're still able to maintain a realistic picture of what's happening at the consumer side, and hence can provide you with a realistic picture of what the water losses look like and allow a similar kind of analysis that we have seen just now in Torquay's case. Important to mention here is also that this is not something that is coming in the future, as in like 5 years down the road. This is a live project ongoing, and we're we're definitely releasing this to the public in 2024 as well. Now, this is the side of what to do with data, right? If I don't have a perfect data situation. What if I don't have a perfect data situation and I might not have DMAs? This is the approach we address here, where yes, data doesn't need to be perfect, but we need some data. In this case, we need the geo information, in particular about the pipes and valves and other elements in the pipe network. And we need at least information from the SCADA system. So in the very least at the water tanks and the water works, the water production facilities. But we can add more just to become better. And the idea here is that we use this to feed a hydraulic model, which is then used in an intelligent, in quotation marks, way, where basically it is evaluated for, if a leak is detected, the most likely leak locations. And that's what you can then see here on the right side. So in this particular example, we were looking also at Bronnersloh's data because we've been working together for so long that we just used this data, and we looked at 2 of the 22 DMAs that we've seen with a pipe length of combined 42 kilometers roughly, with 2 SCADA stations. So that means, okay, SCADA data, GS data, roughly 40 kilometers of pipes. After the leak was detected, the leak location was proposed that you can see here along this one pipe. And we will see in just a bit how well this has actually worked. Now, the idea here, once again, is that you needn't necessarily separate your network into different DMAs, and that you don't necessarily need to rely on meters and consumer meters, smart meters being read constantly, but you can use whatever existing infrastructure you have, for example, SCADA stations, and still come up with a very good, and I will tell you on the next slide, very good pre-localization just based on the data that you have. This is also something that is going to be released in 2024. And now, as promised, this is where the leak then actually was found. So I'll just zoom in a little bit so you can see that it's a little turquoise circle. So the entire pipe that you can see here has a length of 600 meters. And if just entertain thought you'd started looking in the beginning, you'd be almost immediately finding this leak. I haven't shown this earlier, but you can also integrate noise loggers into water loss management, which means that if you're indicated, okay, here, this pipe you need to check, you deploy your noise loggers, their data is then updated automatically the next morning also in the same system. This zone will still show red. And then the noise loggers will accordingly also highlight, okay, you know what, here I hear a sound. And hence within 2 days, you've not only detected, but also found and hopefully also fixed the leak. Perfect. Just looking at the time a little bit, I want to leave some time for questions. So I'll just briefly highlight some of the other things that we're doing because I simply didn't have the time before. We are also in water loss management, not just looking at water losses and physical losses, but we're also aiding the management of water quality, the management of your assets, in particular the pipe infrastructure, and we've seen the importance of data also help you in highlighting what kind of data situation do you have, what issues do you have, and what can you do about it to improve it. If this was interesting to you, please do reach out. I'll just quickly leave this screen up so you can scan the QR code, or feel free to reach me directly in the email that you can see underneath the QR code. All right, just a few more seconds so you have time to scan it. And then we can jump over to the Q&A session. All right.